We are very, very privileged to have with us Advocate S. Balan, senior advocate from Karnataka. He is not just an advocate, he's also a seasoned trade union activist and human rights defender. He has worked among marginalized sections, among workers, sanitation workers, municipal corporation workers, and construction workers. More than anything else, he has also defended many of the ones falsely accused and charged in the UAPA cases and in NIA courts. And he is also subject matter to 28 criminal false cases, apart from being attacked by the police and goons. Welcome, Advocate Balan. Thank you so much for sparing the time for us on this very important subject. As you know, UAPA and its provisions, draconian provisions, have been the subject matter of a lot of concern and debate among the human rights fraternity. And you have been very concerned in your career battling these cases. So I just like to begin by asking you that the denial of constitutional rights and what you call the natural rights and the birth rights under UAPA, which gives unfettered powers to the executive, central government to notify an individual as a terrorist or an organization as a terrorist. What is the genesis of these provisions and what is the impact?
See, genesis of this provision, it starts from Criminal Law Amendment Act 1908, enacted by the colonial masters, with twin object to loot countries' resources, which includes natural, mineral, and human resources, also to combat the freedom movement. So the basically Criminal Law Amendment Act to ban organizations which demands to the British to quit India and hand over India to the native citizens. That was the basic concept of that act. Then comes your Anarchic Revolutionary Crime Act 1919. See, there they can arrest, keep you, the freedom fighters or the nationalists in jail for 2 years without any trial. Then comes 1942, Armed Forces Special Powers Ordinance. Power is bestowed on armed forces to arrest, shoot, kill, seize, attack. Entire power is given to them. This is basically 3 laws. See, the ruler wanted to loot and rule. That was the basic concept of these 3 acts. See, after independence, we have a constitution, Article 14, Article 19, Article 20, 23, 21, 22. These are all the basic rights. See, 19(1)(a) to G, the fundamental right, freedom of speech, expression. See, Dr. Ambedkar, while debating the Constitution in the Constitution Assembly, said, see, democratic nature of a society reflects in the criminal law. Then 19(1) to 19(g)(f), fundamental rights. See, what has happened again 1950, the National Security Act. Then comes MISA, then NSA, then 1958 itself, Armed Forces Special Powers Act to attack 7 sister states. Then 1990, this Armed Forces Jammu and Kashmir Special Powers Act, 1985 Tada Act, then 2002 FOTA Act, then 2004, this UAPA Amendment Act. Its root was introduced in the parliament in the year 1963 itself. It was debated, then second, third, 1967, with 21 provisions, with 21 sections. This UAP Act was enacted in the parliament, especially to combat DMK in Tamil Nadu, because they said they want Dravidian state. So this was the background of the act. Then comes this Tada with the sunset clause of 2 years. But they stretched up to 1995. Then this Vajpayee government 2002, they wanted this law. Then POTA, this is a terror law. Okay, the background of these laws, see the 1990 LPG liberalization, privatization, globalization. Then 1992, there are two major events in India, signing of GATT agreement and demolition of Babri Masjid. So country was open. Now corporates, transnational corporation, national corporation, multinational corporation, corporates merged with the state. State and corporations are together. So corporate agents became the rulers of this nation.
When we talk about chapter 7, which is consisting of sections 41 to 53, which talk about pre-charge detention, which talk about extensive remand before the police that can stretch to very long periods, which is an open invitation to torture. When we talk about difficulty to get anticipatory bail or impossible to get bail under this act, what changed in criminal law with the enactment of these
What has
amendments? That is the
happened?
point. Yeah.
See, 2004, photo was repealed. UPA was amended with 53 sections.
Right.
See, resolution number 1373, UN resolution dated 28 September 2001. See, this is drafted by US and UK. This was not ratified by world community, nor signed by the member countries. It was the suo motu drafted by US and UK to loot oil in the Middle East. See, exactly this amendment 43A to GF is the dictum of America and England. It was not debated. If you read the preamble of UAP Act or NIA Act, see, it says that UN resolution, it is not our act, not debated in the parliament. This is a stringent law wherein 43D5, D5, no bail, arrest, no limitation. 14 years people are in jail, 11 years people are in jail. There is no period limitation at all. If the structure, scope and scheme of UAP Act and NIA Act is taken into consideration, number 1, section 3, 4 and 5 bestows absolute power on the Joint Secretary of the Home Department to ban any organizations or banned, which are all Adivasis, Dalits, farmers, workers, minorities, minority Muslims, minority Christians, Northeast associations. So all these 41. Therefore, section 35, listed organization. This is the 41 organization. Then see, without opportunity of being heard, without a judicial mind, the ruling dispensation can direct a joint secretary to ban any organization. Once it is banned, if they show that you are a member of organization, life sentence. If they say that you conspired, life sentence. If they recover 5,000 rupees from anyone, it is life sentence. If they recover any digital document, life sentence. This is the scope and structure of the act. Now Stan was arrested. Sudha Bharadwaj or Anand Teltumbde, what terrorist act they have committed except pen and writing, protecting the interest of Adivasis, workers, farmers, to protect our land, to see the Stan is concerned. He is no more dead. Why he was killed by the state? How dangerous he is to the state? Why he should be given to jail? Why the court denied him bail? That is the scope and structure of the act.
Okay, now tell me, you have had a lot of experience tackling such cases under UAPA and NIA cases. Can you give us some very stark examples of how the lower courts behave, how the NIA court behaves, and how this UAPA is applied to innocent people. Can you give us some examples?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. See, NIA, National Investigating Agency. This act was enacted in the year 2008. This act is against the concept of federalism. This act is against constitution for the simple reason that law and order investigation is a state subject. The union cannot intervene in that. We had CBI without the permission from the respective state government. CBI cannot enter, cannot investigate. Only if the consent of the state only it can enter. Otherwise, absolutely with the state. Now, NIA given absolute power, they can take up any case suo moto. The state should immediately inform if UAPA case is registered. Then, see, this is a mock trial. Under section 11 and 22 of the NIA, the NIA constitutes or designates a special court. Special court, special investigation, special public prosecutor, special law. It's a mock trial. See, before NIA, any order passed by NIA, interlocutory order, is final. You can't challenge any order under 482, 397 or Article 226. So NIA court is a Supreme Court, it is a High Court, it is a Special Court, it is a Magistrate Court, it is a mock court. Moment a person is arrested in, named in a UAPA case, no anticipatory bail, investigation up to 180 days, at a stretch 30 days, then no bail. Once arrested, no trial, no bail. One case, Fahad case, he was arrested in 2006.
In Karnataka.
Court Karnataka, 14 years. I took up that case, seeing plight of him, it is a pro bono. I recalled the I1 cross-examined, then he got acquittal under UAPA, got acquittal under Explosive Substances Act, got acquittal in Arms Act, got acquittal in waging war against the country, but he spent 14 years. I got an acquittal. Who will pay for him? And this.
So that brings us to an important question, that Section 49 of the UAPA protects any officer, any official who does actions in good faith. And all these laws have inbuilt provisions so that a person who has been incarcerated maliciously without proof cannot even claim a prosecution or claim reparation.
See, that is how, that's why I said this scheme, scope, and structure. It is structured like that by the corporates in collusion with the state. It is a corporate dictated law.
Any other examples you can give us, sir?
See, in Bangalore, Madani, a social activist, a speaker, a leader in Kerala. So he was involved in a case. See that case, 2008, in the month of July, case was registered. After 4 months, they filed a charge sheet mentioning Samir Bhagavadi, a Kannada-speaking Muslim, as an accused. He was subjected to brain mapping and narco-analysis test. Charge sheet was already filed. After 2 months, they started further investigating. In the year 2009, they said Samir Bhagavadi innocent. 6 others also innocent. By the time they were tortured, electrocuted, assaulted, everything has happened. Then they brought another group. In the year 2010, Madani was implicated, roping 2 RSS leaders as witness. Because of those 2 RSS leaders from Madikeri, it is proved before the court they are connected to RSS and the Hindu Janajakarna Samiti, and they are communal gunda sheeters. They themselves are accused in attacking Muslims. So with those 2 witnesses for the last 11 years, is almost 1 leg is amputated, eye is not visible, multiple problem. He is in jail for 11 years. See what has happened 2019, there is a third amendment to UAPA, section 35 and 36, where our group organizations are there. They added he or she. See, even an individual can be implicated as an accused. How many of the goons who planted bombs in different places are roped in as individual terrorists?
In Maharashtra, Nanded, in Surat, Gujarat, after 23 years, people were acquitted. 23 years, people were acquitted. They were all Sini activists, and it was they were, of course, brutally tortured. Then we had in Nanded a similar case after 9 years. Then we had another case in Gujarat. But do you feel recently, sir, that some of the NIA court judgments are improving slightly?
I don't find slightly improving. See what has happened. See, there are two aspects: unlawful activity, unlawful assembly. This is one side. Then terrorist act, other side. See, this CAA protesters or wherever one or two get bail, they are for on unlawful activities or unlawful assembly, not terrorist act. Any person who are implicated under section 15, 16, 38 of the UAP Act or 18A, B, C or 20A, B, C never get bail. Only section 13 and 10, they get bail here and there, not the others. See, they drag on the case for 7 years, 8 years. Frustrate them, motivate them with the help of some agents to plead guilty. See how this Varavar Rao, Sudha Bharadwaj and Father Stan implicated in somebody else's laptop. They discovered some message from the hard drive. Then what has happened during the course of proceedings? A mirror image of that copy was obtained that was sent to America for expert opinion.
Yeah.
They said it is planted. See how, see it is international. If you read the charge sheet of NIA, either Chennai or Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore, the preamble of the charge sheet, the modus operandi, A to Z, same, comma, full stop, everything is. It's all fabrication. I use the word manufacturing.
So, sir, you have been appealing to the advocates fraternity to understand this background, which you've just described. And you've been saying that please, when you are handling such cases, please understand the structure, scheme, and scope of UAPA. And this is what you've just described. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the advocate community that is handling?
It is the advocacy which can protect. How I could able to get acquittal in Fahad case? They planted AK-47, it was fired. They have shown even DCP sustained injuries. How he got? See, there are technicalities. The advocate should read the entire act, word by word, line by line. Why the word D is used, why A is used, why an is used. Then in the sanction 43.1, 43.2, independent review committee, who should be the sanctioning authority? Most of the cases, under secretary signs, accord sanction. It should be joint secretary. The advocate should read all the notification of the central government and state government regarding sanction. Then 43, search seizure, it should be reported. There are a lot of things which we can understand. See, section 13 of the NIA Act says investigated by the agency. The means only NIA. Otherwise, a agency or an agency. Each word is important.
But sir, that is a very important thing what you said, but that could be after 10 years, 14 years, 17 years when the trial begins. But until then, what should be done?
See, what has happened, madam? See, in
no, ma'am. Sorry. What should be done to ask for a demand for the repeal of the UAPA? Because why should such a law be on our statute books?
Okay, see this like your Tada and Photo UAPA should go. How it should go? The opposition leaders like Stalin of Tamil Nadu or Kanimozhi or Mamata Banerjee or even SP, these people should raise their voice. Even Pinarayi Vijayan, CPI and CPM should raise. This is a draconian law against workers. It is against everybody. This UAPA, NIA is unconstitutional. It should go. And there must be a political movement throughout India. But the cases are concerned. What happened? Why this
Correct.
14 years? Initially, nobody go to their rescue. They are most of them unable to pay money, very poor. They are arrested, no lawyers. Some lawyers who doesn't know anything about it, they appear, they change, somebody else come. This is how they drag on the case for years. Lawyers also contributing to that. There must be an effective state-wise or central-wise mechanism where all the experienced lawyers who are really committed to human rights should monitor these cases so that we can finish at the earliest, whichever case I handled from the beginning. So we could able to bring it to the final stage within
Has
3
there
to 4
been-
years.
Has there been any such case that you handled, sir, from the beginning, which finished in about
Yes,
3 to
I
4
am
years?
handling Biswas case, Afaq case from the beginning. Within 3 years, we brought it to the level of a 313 statement.
Okay.
And from day one, I am handling within 3 years. And within 4 years, I expect the final result. Of course, we lost bail, but still bail petitions are filed, and we have brought to the final stage. And each witness is very, very effectively handled.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important suggestion you're making, that when the other side is so well organized to ensure that the denial of liberty, I think those of us who are fighting for liberty of people and for liberty of the marginalized should be networking, should be working together in an effective legal aid campaign so that they are not looking around and not subject to lawyers who are not equipped to handle such cases. So, Mr. Balan, we'll be in touch on this. We'll talk to you in future also about this campaign. Is there anything more you would like to say?
See, anything more I would like to say, see this ruling dispensation, this government, I term it Brahmana, Baniya, corporate, militaristic, fascist state. And this state requires draconian law like UAPA, NIA. If we compare the present ruling dispensation and law and compare 1933 to 45, Germany under Hitler and the laws enacted by them, you can find a lot of similarities. The advocates and the human rights activists not only separately handle the legal aspect. This UAPA is not just legal, it is political, it is economical, it is corporate. One should understand the root behind this, and then we should fight politically as well as legally in the street as well as in the court.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll come back for more conversations. Thank you very, very much, Advocate Balan, for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.